Hello, boys and girls. Today I want to talk to you about one of my favorite paintings, Starry Night, painted by Vincent van Gogh. One of his quotes about the work was, "Be clearly aware of the stars and infinity on high. Then life seems almost enchanted after all." Vincent was born in the Netherlands in 1853. He left school when he was a teenager and became a clerk for an art dealer who sold paintings to people around the world. For our first Starry Night activity, I thought we would take inspiration from yet another artist, Henri Matisse. Rene was known for painting with paper. He would take bits of paper, cut them into strips or curls, circles, and put them down on his canvas. Van Gogh's style was imaginary and dreamlike, and abstract art is very imaginary and dreamlike. So, you're going to need a bunch of construction paper in various colors, some glue. Liquid glue would probably work best depending on the thickness of your construction paper, some scissors, and a printout of the Starry Night, a colored version. I started this picture with the largest area shapes and colors. That would be the blue of the sky. I chose different shades of blue and even shades of purple to put and break up the sky. This is my creativity. It is not an exact replica of Vincent van Gogh's, and I am not using every single line of the picture that has been drawn for me. I can make it up as I go. From the blues and purples, I decided to go to the cypress tree using blacks, and further down adding some geometric shapes for the town, and then going back to add the stars and the sky. Notice the brush strokes. For the sky, they swirl, each dab of color rolling with the clouds around the stars and moon. On the cypress tree, they bend with the curve of the branches. The whole effect is ethereal and dreamlike. The hills actually roll down into the little village below. In contrast, the town is straight up and down, done with rigid lines that interpret the now of the brushstrokes. Tiny little trees soften into flexibility of the town, bringing nature into the unnaturalness of buildings. One of the biggest points of interest about the painting is that it comes entirely from Van Gogh's imagination. None of the scenery matches the area surrounding St. Paul Asylum or the view from his window. As a man who religiously painted what he sees, it's a remarkable break from Van Gogh's normal work, as can be seen if you look at his bedroom in Arles and sunflowers and light. The contrast in strokes play on the natural versus the unnatural, dream versus reality. Nature could even be attributed to the divine in this work. I didn't think there was quite enough detail in the yellow splotches for the stars, 11 stars, from the Bible, so I decided to go back with a pen and add those concentric circles, swirls, to make it more ethereal. For our second Starry Night project, I thought we would take some inspiration from string art. No, I didn't mean to nail down some nails into a board in the shape of the painting and then use string to go around it, although that could be a fun fourth project. This one is taking bits of string and weaving it around to make different shapes that resemble Starry Night. The first person known for forming curves out of straight lines is Mary Everest Boole. The Englishwoman used what is known as curve stitching to help teach children mathematics. She would go on to publish a book in 1909 titled Philosophy and Fun of Algebra. The curves Mary Everest Boole used in her teaching methods became known as the Bezier curve, inspired by an algorithm created by French mathematician Paul de Castelnau. Pierre Bezier, a fellow French mathematician, developed a curve formed to help solve a practical issue. At the time, Bezier was working at a car company and was in need of an accurate way to describe a curve that worked for both manufacture and design. The result was the Bezier curve, which can describe any second-degree curve with only 4 points. The curve was published in 1962 and is created with inspiring numerous artists, although its intentions were strictly mathematical. String art has grown from there, but you'll see how I chose to do the string art of Starry Night. In this version of the project, I decided to do a reversal. Instead of starting with the blues of the sky, I'm starting with the light part of the lights and the stars in the background. By using my clay working knowledge, I'm able to take my strings, cut them to the size that I want, and roll them out to either flat lines or curves or spiral or full circles. It's entirely up to me and up to the inspiration of Vincent van Gogh and his Starry Night. As with most of my art, it's important to me to layer those different colors and hues. So I have 3 different shades of yellow for the lines around the moon and stars. Then I'll work on adding colors to the blues of the sky and the various other shapes in the painting. My favorite part about doing this version of the project is when you add the blues in, the other elements pop, and it really does look like the painting of Starry Night, with the string being the brush strokes, and you can feel the movement in the night sky. Let's say for a second that you have an eclectic style of yarn. You can take the background color, the majority color of that yarn, and try to make it work in the various places that you choose. That's where my green speckled yarn came into play as a deeper color of the sky, and my striped browns for the cypress tree. You'll see what I mean as you watch the rest of the project unfold. Using different textures of yarn can also be a fun way to add style to your piece. When you look at the different textures of the pieces of yarn, your eye says, hey, that's different. And when you're finished with your project, you can always run your fingers across the surface like you can a nice oil painting and feel the brush strokes. here, I not only wanted to get the shape and the visual texture of the cypress tree, but I also wanted some visual cues to say that it is jutting out at the viewer. So I built it up as if in a shadow box with extra strength to guide it. It's easy to draw your own Starry Night picture if you notice some of the shapes and the movement in the piece. All of the stars, 11 to be exact, are round. The moon is a traditional crescent moon shape with a round circle around it. The cypress tree is very organic with its triangular motion upward, and the swiping of the light swirling in the background follow a pattern of curve up, around, back around a last time, and up to the end. The hills are going from left to right, low to high, and the blues of the background start dark at the top and change gradient lower and lower. The village at the bottom is made up of mostly geometric shapes with a few yellows and blues and grays near the bottom. One of my favorite songs is Starry, Starry Night by Don McLean. In it, he talks about the painting. Starry, starry night, paint your palette blue and gray. Look out on a summer's day. This is giving Van Gogh vantage point, looking out at the asylum at St. Remy. When he first entered the asylum, he painted mainly from his room or the courtyard garden, but later went further afield to paint. With eyes that know the darkness in my soul, shadows on the hills, sketch the trees and the daffodils, catch the breeze and the winter chills, in colors of the snowy linen land. Now I understand what you tried to say to me, how you suffered for your sanity, how you tried to set them free. They would not listen, they did not know. Perhaps they'll listen now. I wanted to capture the movement that Van Gogh saw at his room in the asylum, so I thought markers would be a perfect use for this. I took my alcohol-based touch markers and used dashes to make the movement. I ranged the colors again like I did with the yarn, from grays and browns and blacks for the cypress tree to different shades of yellow for the stars and the wind, sky, moon, and the hill, and then gradient of blue from the top to the bottom, darkest to lightest, and adding geometric shaped buildings, I added various random colors which all appeared to be very realistic to his painting and his vision at the day. If you are working with alcohol-based markers, this is not a concern, but if you're working with Crayola or water-based markers, you need to make sure that you're going in the same direction each time, because each stroke of the marker will leave a little bit of darker color and lighter color based on the way that you press against the page. From there, you're going to want to fill in all of those, as I call them, peekaboo spaces, all the whites. I like the whites there, so if you would like to keep them, you can do that. But I think my finished product looked a little more polished when I went the multimedia route and used watercolor paints. Just adding this little element can really tie a piece together. I hope you enjoyed watching all three of my Starry Night tutorials: the painting with paper, the string art, and the drawing with pencil and markers. I also hope that you give it a try sometime, and please don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Thanks, and have a great day.